Analog horror. We know it, we love it. The Backrooms, Walten Files, Mandela Catalogue, Local 58, they are all just a few of the many stories born out of the newly formed genre. The idea of using faulty and fragile audio-video equipment and all its dated flaws to tell a terrifying tale isn't something new. We've seen it be implemented in both movies and games. However, the way analog horror differentiates itself enough from the rest is through the purposefully cryptic plot hidden underneath an unnerving sequence of seemingly disconnected events that play throughout a certain volume and leave you wanting more during a time where it's hard to capture just audience retention as a whole. This of course means that everyone wants a piece of the action, but it isn't easy to capture the magic of the requirements that are needed for a proper series to be pulled off. All this is something Dreams of an Insomniac has come to master already. Created and produced by the YouTuber known as Pastra, Volume 0 of the already renowned series is something intrinsically beautiful. So join me as we dissect why that is. The oversaturation of an already niche genre can mean that it's easy for all of us to catch on quickly with all the tricks these VHS tapes can pack. Glitch transitions to eerie voices to loneful zooms is a concept that becomes predictable once you see even two of these series back to back. Dreams of an Insomniac doesn't fall prey to this fate though, as Pastra ensures to tell a concise narrative without too much mediocre filler that normally drag out certain points to where you're just bored. This actually coincides with the first point as to why Dreams of an Insomniac is a worthwhile watch. It's too often now that we get an absence of a story in need of being put together rather than a complete plot itself in the content we consume. Don't get me wrong, it's always fun to find various pieces of a much larger puzzle and tie them together, but at some point it becomes tedious to not be able to just sit down and enjoy a collection of spooks with an easily understandable overarching narrative. Pastra manages to strike a perfect balance between the lore presented within the PSA itself and the secret hints meant to illustrate an interconnected universe. On the surface, you have a story of, guess what, missing kids. Who could have imagined that an indie creator has ties to missing kids in their story? This differs from others though, since it has to do with a lot of missing people. Volume 0 of Dreams of an Insomniac is simply titled as a Haunted Halloween PSA and acts as a guide for us as well as the supposedly misinformed residents of Eastridge County and allows us to be caught up to speed with all the incidents thus far in an organic way. According to authorities, there seems to be an otherworldly entity that is abducting and harming all those that fall onto its path. Descriptions are given on forms of avoidance, combat, and subsequent consequences when near the beast, as one would expect from a PSA of similar nature. But to be honest, that's all there really is. The details make the world feel more lived in without ever actually going into the depths of what makes Eastridge County a significant fictional location. And that's about it. Along with properly placed demonic faces here and there, that's what you get in Volume 0. But wait, you may be thinking, didn't I specifically mention connections to something much bigger? Indeed, I did. And that's where this soon-to-be series truly shines. You see, to understand the second attraction of this analog horror, you all should first be acquainted with what Pastra's channel is really about. Unlike other creators on the rise, Pastra's entire channel isn't solely dedicated to one singular project. Alongside other things, Pastra's videos are more often than not only video essays. In fact, they're the reason Pastra even grew in popularity, evolving from a mainly Five Nights at Freddy's centric channel to one open to discussions regarding any indie horror game. The reason this info dump is even relevant is due to how all these videos have a mascot representing Pastra. This character came to be known as Clyde. A single look at him allows one to realize just how similar he is to the monster behind the kidnappings at Eastridge County over in Dreams of an Insomniac. Not only was this an effective method at ensuring that viewers were taken aback with an extra level of horror, but this connection is the biggest indicator as to how everything is not how it seems over yonder in Eastridge County. One thing to note with Pastra is that the guy is a talented artist and has garnered a collection of unused mascots over his time spent on YouTube. One such avatar was introduced as Lankman, which evolved into a completely separate adventure, ending with an ARG where Lankman tried to take over control of the channel after feeling discarded and neglected. Yeah, these avatars are real and have feelings. Since that ARG though, Lankman appearances have decreased yet never fully vanished, as it's made clear time and time again that he is still lurking about, waiting to seize the next opportunity at rebelling against his creator that abandoned him. The ever-present lore revolving around Pastra is the initial gateway that fans can use to peer into what else is behind the curtain with Dreams of an Insomniac. For example, don't you find it weird that Clyde, a person and mascot that the community has come to grow fond of and love, is the one accused of such hideous crimes in Volume 0? On top of that, we never actually see Clyde commit these heinous acts. You wanna know what we do see for certain though? We glance at how this entire PSA was produced by none other than the Lankman Foundation, and never has there ever been a clearer connection between two entities in any mystery before this one. See what I mean about the interconnecting branches now? You have Dreams of an Insomniac for casual horror enjoyers, the Lankman ARG for a one-off event, and finally the reoccurring features of Clyde that present a familiar face for long-lasting audiences. When all of this culminates together though, you find yourself intermixed in a web of conspiracies all laid out by Lankman that could potentially aim to paint Clyde in a negative light, since Lankman is still clearly jealous that he doesn't have the spotlight on himself, whereas Clyde most certainly does. A lot of this is still up in the air though, since I bet there's much more that no one has even uncovered yet. And with Volume 0 being the tip of the iceberg for something much bigger that Pastra must have in store, I believe it'll be a while before we ever get any concrete answers or resolutions. By the time this video comes out, Pastra will have gone on to release a sequel, so I'm excited to see what tidbits we can get out of that. In the meantime though, this is it. This has been something fun that I've wanted to explore for a while now, and I can't wait to do so again. If you haven't already, I recommend that you watch Haunted Halloween PSA as soon as you get the time to do so, and just keep up with the rest of Pastra's works. If you enjoyed this video, please do consider subscribing and leaving a comment down below. I love whatever you guys have to say regarding any of the topics I cover in my videos. In the meantime though, here are two videos that YouTube thinks that you'd enjoy. Give them a shot. I bet you won't be disappointed. Until next time, this has been Vexodus, and see ya.